So good afternoon, everybody, and Dr. Batra, thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm indeed, honored and privileged to be amongst luminaries like Manishji and Ramananji. And I think, the direction has been very well put by both of them. I think there is no doubt that we are in the right direction. I think COVID has been a pretty, while it's been tough on the entire world, I think it has definitely been a perfect period for resetting a lot of the innovation and the initiatives that we want to take to reach out to the masses. Having said that, my concern only remains the last mile connectivity. I think one of the questions on the screen talked about that. Uh, if you really break up our entire country into states, so we've got, of course, 29 states and union territories, but if you really get down into the last mile, we're talking about 70,000 villages, and we're talking about trying to reach the last mile out there and providing education and skilling through a digital platform. And that's where there are a few questions that need to be probably looked into. For example, out of the 455 million urban population that we have, nearly 300 of them have internet access. Whereas out of the 900 odd million non-urban population, I think the internet access has not reached more than 180 million. So that is probably one area that we need to be cognizant of. At the same time, I think the way we are moving forward, we are given to understand that probably 85% of the country would be internet savvy or internet connected by 2024. So I think that way, I think we are moving in the right direction, but are we ready right now? No. Having said that, I'm glad that this has happened in a way because a lot of people have been talking about technology, but right now I think real action on the ground has started, and that is extremely encouraging. The other quick points I would like to make is, like somebody talked about, someone asked about MOOC courses, and I think both Ramanji and Manishji were mentioning that there has been an exponential growth in these areas, and that is true because way back in 2016, not more than 1.5 to 1.6 million were really enrolled with MOOC courses, but today they've already touched about 5 to 7 million, and it is likely to go into more than 10 million to 11 million in the next couple of years. So I think there is a dramatic growth which is happening in these areas. We are a strong believer in what's happening. We have invested a lot into technology, and our objective is really to try and transform lives globally through this whole knowledge ecosystem that's really coming out. But there are some areas that we probably might want to discuss and delve deeper when it comes to practical execution on the ground. I wouldn't want to say that it is dividing, and yes, there is a certain division that is there right now. But I think with every passing day, I think that divide is getting filled up and it is starting to get bridged. I mean, look at what you see around you. You can see even the economically weaker folks not going around without a phone, and it's not even a normal phone; it's a smartphone. I mean, you can actually now start seeing a rickshaw driver sitting and waiting for a passenger. He's no longer bored. He's actually watching videos and he's watching movies on his phone. So I think from that perspective, I think the thrust has started. Have you been able to manage a reach which is in line with what we want to do right now in terms of digital transformation? Probably not. But I think the rate of growth in the next 2 to 3 years will be far higher than what has happened over the last 5 to 6 years. The other point which I want to talk about, I'm reminded of what Manishji spoke about. I think the whole cluster-based approach, which he talked about for skilling, I think that can be pretty much created across all streams. So if in a way, I think I know that there is a scheme called Pradhan Mantri Gramin Digital Program, which I think has been designed to teach basic emailing, how to access the net, how to make digital payments, how to browse. I think these are some basic learnings that are required. Some things that we folks will never understand because for us all this is absolutely the left of I mean it's a left finger that can do this. But for them, this is big stuff. And I think if that is started to be taken very seriously and we start really exponentially growing that side, I think we should be able to reach whatever I think the digital bridging is going to happen sooner than later. So I couldn't have agreed with Mr. Ramanan more. In fact, the last line is music to my ears because that's exactly what we'd like to do. In fact, we have been around for the last 14 years, and to a large extent, we have been running private schools. And the learning and the entire experience that we have got is now what we're trying to take to the government. And we'll be very happy to approach the government to try and participate in a private public partnership, just like Mr. Ramanan says. Now, there are a few things that we're already doing. So case in point, we're talking to quite a few governments right now to, you know, this whole online, I'm talking about schools now, this whole online teaching into classrooms to make up for students not getting the learning is happening in private schools, but not as much in government schools. And we are talking to quite a few governments to really bring in that change through our technology platform. We are also, and I don't want to name the state, but close to 1,000 balwadis or pre-primary centers are being addressed by us. We are actually in association with the government to try and manage these balwadis. And right now we're going through you know, they're shut down now to be reopened in June. And there's actually conversations happening with the government as to how we can really get this whole thing going in a non-physical world, because we're talking about dealing with 3-year-old and 4-year-old children. And that's a very different ecosystem as compared to the larger kids. So these conversations are certainly going. I think I would be very keen to approach Ramananji and ATL and of course Atal Innovation Mission to see how we can jointly try and replicate what we are doing at private schools and really go into the hinterland of India together and start to make a difference in those schools. And I'm not talking about necessarily setting up hardware out there. It could even be setting up, like you said, tinkering labs on the cloud and try to get those children to really align to that innovation that he's been wanting to do. So we could go there together and try and make the difference, because we know schools pretty well. And overall, I think our take is as follows. The government has got the infrastructure, the government has got the money, the government has got the digital infrastructure in place. I think they're very, very serious about trying to create the ecosystem. What we can bring to the table is execution prowess. We can bring to the table a certain ability to do and to track what is getting done. And this tracking can all the way go right up to the government, so that eventually the need or the outcome that the government is expecting, let them put that onto the private players and actually, commercially take care of us purely basis on performance. So we are ready to get into that kind of a model where it is purely performance driven. And that is what I would like to take to the government. To Manishji, I would like to try and seek his help to see how we can enhance the whole skilling in schools, because somewhere we get we have to cast them young, and while there is skilling in schools, which is starting from 9th standard, in fact, it is going down to 6th standard now. But I think some of the areas that we can probably participate together is to try and bring in a technology-based skilling, because currently it is very, very lab-centric and it is physical teacher-centric. So probably technology can be brought in there to try and enhance that. My one-liner request to the government would be, while I think the ability to look forward, the need is being identified right, I think the thought process is in the right direction. But somewhere I think there has to be much more collaboration. And Manishji, Ramanji, forgive me for saying this. I mean, I don't mean any disrespect here, but I think if the government's various agencies can start talking to each other a little more. You see, we've got WCD, which takes care of pre-primary children, but not in the education space. We have MHRD, who takes care of education for the pre-primary children. And then we've got Niti Aayog, of course, which is there. We've got NSDC. We've got AICTE. We've got PSSCIV, who makes content. We've got Atal Innovation Mission, who's got content in the robotics and other areas. But we also have CBC trying to do the same thing separately in silos. So is there a way that this can be probably more integrated, collaborated, and then we can step in as a private player to try and see how we can take this forward into execution? It's just a thought I just want to leave. I know sitting here, it's very easy to say this, and it probably is very, very complex if you go to the other side of the table. But I just thought I'll take the opportunity to address this wish list. Quite funny, because much before the COVID hit us, a lot of us have been part of many seminars. I won't call them webinars, because those days they were physical seminars, and most of them were education-related seminars. And I don't think any seminar would have gone past without discussing technology or technology-related disruption. But it really required a COVID to come and actually make this get into an exponential walking the talk kind of a scenario. And I think I'm quite thrilled about that. Our group has been investing. We've been seeing this quite ahead in advance, and we have started investing heavily into technology. I'm absolutely excited about joining hands with the government, trying to really reach out to the government to see how we can work on trying to transform lives for the masses. I think one area that I think we need to focus upon is to cast them young. So a lot of work to be done inside the schools, especially the rural schools and the schools which are there in the hinterland of India. And if you ask me, I would like a scenario where we have a good combination of artificial intelligence and the right pedagogical approach to be able to teach the children, and at some point even realize, use artificial intelligence to find out that in a class of 40, who is it that we need to really work on to move into a certain skilling area? Who is it that needs to be worked on to move into IIT? Who is it that needs to be worked on to get into, let's say, coding, and start intervening right in the beginning and navigate their path through this joint effort between government, private, and of course with the technology, overarching this entire process. So I'm excited, and I really look forward to exciting times.
Thank you.